For joining me today. Before we begin to read chapters 3 and 4, I want to clear the air and say a quick ring. So this is just going to make a little noise. We're going to clear it. And I'd like you to sit up as well as you can and take a nice, slow, deep breath in and then out. We're going to bring in light and love, and we're going to breathe out discontent and sadness, and we're going to bring out joy. So we're going to breathe in patience, and we're going to breathe out impatience. We're going to breathe in love and happiness, and we're going to breathe out sadness. Now we've cleared the energies of strife in general. We're going to begin and read chapters 2 and 3, and I want to thank you for joining me today. This is on, if you're new to the channel, the video before this is introducing the fact that I'm going to be reading about 4 or 5 books on yoga, and I'm going to start with the mind section of yoga, which is on the spiritual consciousness aspect. And the book, here I'm just going to jump over to the table of contents. It is by a yogi, and it's translated to English, and it's from 1911. So we just read the first 2 chapters, and I'm going to read the next. Maybe I might read up to chapter 5. So let's get started, and thank you again for joining me today in your journey. So actually, what let's see, chapter, read and reflect. Okay, let's do that. Read and reflect. Okay, so I'm just running a search, and okay, search. All right, let's do done. Okay, so we're on this page, and we're on chapter 3, and I'm just gonna make it a little bit easier to see here. Okay, let us begin, and let's absorb this knowledge, gnosis, and breathe out confusion and breathe in understanding. So, whatever is worth doing is worth doing well. An age-worn saying, but one which cannot be rung too often on human ears. We are mostly selfish, and all blame to us. And this because the light of the Lord within us is so bedimmed by the darkness of the lower nature. Our deeds are accomplished best when we put heart in them, when we see some gain accruing to us. Need I prove this? What is the central pivot we turn upon? Attraction, and its opposite, repulsion. We take an interest in certain things. The former gives us a touch of pleasure. The latter causes pain. Both act diametrically, and the will, unable to assert itself, is unable to draw to itself the happiness-giving objects. Pain wrecks the soul. The aim of philosophy is to put an end to pain. It does not bring down upon us the gloom of despair, but the sunshine of cheerfulness. Apologies, I have to move this over to get more comfortable. Applying this to our actions, we see how philosophy, in the positive sense, is a true helper. It hands us a weapon which cuts through difficulties. The weapon is wisdom. By wisdom, I mean a light which is self-luminous. Man has an infinite field of consciousness. This sphere, as it widens out, realizes for us all that we want rightly. Our actions become linked together symmetrically, and at the end of the chain of wise activity is the desired object. It is hence wise to acquire wisdom. How to do it? By unfolding the consciousness. How to unfold? Well, there are many methods, most difficult, but I'm going to give you a very easy one, applying which success is as sure as that morning follows night. In the ordinary course of things, we walk at a snail's pace, and progress is woefully slow. But we can quicken the pace and climb swiftly by taking ourselves in hand, by training the mind. The mind is a queer storehouse. The schoolboy bakes his brain on a dry course of lessons daily. Why? To train the mind, that is, education, controlling that the well nigh uncontrollable, the ever-moving, ever-vibrating mind. We read a good deal, and all to no purpose. Dry learning never brings peace of mind. It never gives control over the mind. It never develops the will, nor does it unfold the consciousness. It simply leads to brain fag, mental cramp. Diffusion of thoughts leads to confusion of results. Now suppose the brain to be a road filled with mud. A carriage rolls down the road. The wheels have left a deep, straight track right along the road. Another carriage passes on and deepens the track. It is exactly so with the brain. One thought passes through it, and a track is made through the gray matter. The intensity of the thought will determine the depth of the track. As we think, nerve tracks are created, and the repetition of the same thought deepens that nerve track. New sets of atoms start into activity. Brain cells are multiplied, and fresh layers of matter cover up these tracks. A similar thought gives them a blow. They are shaken up, as it were, into new life. Reading conveys suggestions to the brain and induces certain trains of thought. The human will, if it presses a thought with vigor, increases in force, and mental electricity is thus generated. This is thought force in a nutshell. Excuse me. Now, far greater pressure is exerted if we think by ourselves. The fine nerves of the brain put themselves in a state of tension. More life flows into them, and as this goes on, the inner powers of consciousness, of which the brain is only an instrument, are called forth from their potential into an active, vigorous condition. We should only read those books which yield us fresh, strong thoughts in a line with our own aims and aspirations in life. People take up a book and start reading page after page with the speed of an express train. The mind is in a state of utter confusion, and but faint impressions are being made. This is most foolish. Haste makes waste. Remember. Books contain thoughts. If these thoughts are clean, pure, uplifting, stimulating, and instructive in nature, we should pause upon them and suck all the life out of them. Let a student sit down to read. Let him read a sentence slowly. Then let him try to grasp the thought and think it over intently. One thought suggests other thoughts. Thus, let him think. Stretch his imagination in connection with that thought as far as possible, and drop it only when he has found a clear-cut, distinct conclusion. Let him thus continue for 15 minutes. He will possibly feel quite tired at the end, but as he continues the practice of deliberate thinking, he will feel a new assurance of power awakening in his mind. Read for 5 minutes, think for 10. There you have the whole secret. The above practice is very easy, yet most valuable. It will expand your brain and unfold your higher consciousness. The fact is, there is too little manhood in men. Earnestness of the right sort is conspicuous by its absence. Such things as spiritual unfoldment, the conquest of self, are striven after by but few men. Hence, when they resolve upon achieving these, the initial difficulties quench their ardor. First of all, we must idealize these higher teachings. If we have not done so in the past, we must love them as the only things worthy of achievement. It is not the passion of selfish growth that should grip us, but the clear, cheerful atmosphere of purity that should be our guide. Then, when the thoughts of mind are strung up to action, we should find nothing difficult of achievement. Come day, go day, we must stick to our resolve like grim death. Nothing can crush the spirit when it has learned to recognize itself. Hence, let us cherish, nourish, and embellish our higher nature by taking upon our shoulder a little of the heavy karma of the world. Let us do what we can for our growth, but let us remember that selfishness, when it develops, is like a serpent that warms to life by the heat of our hands. Do not then nurse this viper in your bosom. Be as helpful as you can. Chapter 4. Man, Animal, and Divine. If you're seeing this now, you can substitute human for man if you want. This is just a general word. Okay, chapter 4. By the side of the Ganges, close to the Dashu Madnat, there sits a man of nearly 70. He is stark naked, clad in nature's own garb. The Amahasa remains seated in one place, morning, noon, and night. Look at his face. He's of fair complexion. His forehead rises dome-like above his eyes, which are clear, serene, and brilliant with soul fire. His lips have a firm set. In short, his calm and thoughtful eyes, noble forehead, and general features indicate unruffled calmness, great self-control, and immense willpower. For more than 8 years he has been there, in the burning midday sun of June, when the very ground seems all afire, in the biting bitter cold of December. He sits there. People flock to him in hundreds daily, bring him food enough to fill at least 30 stomachs, bow to him, and tell him their many griefs. All his reply is a nod of his head and a look from his eyes. He eats a few fruits and drinks a little milk, and the rest of the food he scatters among the people, ever ready to pick it up. He never talks, never laughs, or even smiles. His face is always solemn, calm, and rapt. If you go near him, as I did, you can feel his presence at once. It is at once a magnetic, powerful, and all-around spiritual personality. Now just turn from this yogi, for he is nothing else, and follow me to the fish market. I have been there only once, but I will tell you something about it. It was 8 o'clock in the morning. No less than 500 men, women, and boys were there. My first feeling was one of extreme nausea. There was a strong, dirty, abominable smell about the place. The fishermen had brought a fine, living, leaping fish in their nets. They started by taking these out and beating each living fish dead against the hard brick floor of the market. Squabbling, haggling, abusing, spitting were all in full swing. The evil stink was nothing to them. It was the smell of the rose flower, as it were. I went out, rather ran out. I saw many men and women coming, their hands full of dirty stuff. Young men with their teens were there. Their eyes were pale and hollow. Their skins hung loose upon their bones. Their faces denoted greed and lust. I saw not one person who had a healthy, steady, self-reliant look. They seemed like a pack of beggars who had stumbled into a little money which they must spend on fish. Indeed, how can it be otherwise? Now, comparing one of these backboneless men with the saint, what conclusion do you draw? The one is the animal man, and the other, the divine man. In the one, fear, greed, lust, superstition have made their home. The horrors of the slaughterhouse do not shock him at all. His fleshy coating reflects the inner man out and out. His senses are gross and coarse-fibered. In the other, God is manifesting himself. He is proof against the extreme heat and cold, lust and passion. If a thunderbolt were to fall upon him, he would not lose his calmness, even for a fraction of a moment. Is not that real happiness? To realize that you are not the body, that you can never die, that nothing can touch you, that fire cannot burn you, the sword cannot pierce you, the water cannot drown you, to realize your independence and mastery over the flesh. This is the true mission of religion. Religion is being and becoming. It is not talk. It is not intellectualism. It is not worldism. It is life and love. God is love. Love is unselfish. It burns for everyone. It does not come easily. Only when we have suffered much, thought much, then and then alone, gleams of this universal love shine upon us. It is the dawn of divinity, spiritual awakening. A time comes when we feel this truth, and sympathy for the sufferings of others is the first sign. To serve others is a high privilege. God grants us this opportunity for cleansing ourselves. No higher step can be taken unless we have learnt to be selfless in service. Happiness is not the goal of life, nor is enjoyment. Those that hunt for it never get it. God is the goal of life. Realizing Him, we realize happiness. Such is the power of good, that even the least done brings the greatest results. Obey God, serve men. Before you have gone far in this vast path, peace will fold its wings around you. Fear will drop away. Worry will be known no more. Therefore, train yourself to serve others, if only one soul. If you have a father, a mother, or someone else depending on you, serve them with wholehearted zeal. Care not for gratitude, friend, that is their business. If you are in earnest, and the mere fact of your reading yoga proves that you are on the higher path, you will force yourself to be unselfish. In a short time, your higher nature will assert itself, and it will become your second nature. Let us learn to forget our troubles as soon as possible, for these are not permanent. Shattered by self, life, and hope, I will try my humble best to help others with body, brain, and soul. Let that be your brave cry. I am with you in this, and so are thousands of others. Each man is a channel for the expression of God's truths. As we evolve from within outwards, we conform ourselves to the reception of certain gifts. Each man is a power in himself. We have to rise to our best each time we call truths out. They exist in us, potentially, and are ever seeking an outlet for right expression. It rests with us entirely what and how far we will unfold. Fate follows us only so long as we fly from it. Contact with a stronger mind, a purer heart, is decidedly to our advantage. It acts as a push upwards. You may be poor in riches, but you may be rich in God's greatest gift, purity in word, deed, and thought. You are as great as anyone mark you. Daily you have to light the lamp of light eternal in the secret chamber of your heart. Right knowledge, with its right exercise, will wipe out your misery, which is ignorance, the greatest enemy of man. Remember, knowledge is within you and never outside. Let me advise you to read sacred things and then reflect upon them. Study the feelings and thoughts that arise within you. Leave the faults of others alone. Look upwards, but never look down upon your inferiors. If you study and meditate, if you analyze yourself honestly, you shall surely bury all your weakness in the light of knowledge. You will rise to the highest level of godliness in time. Live up to it. If you fail, if you fail, rise again and again and yet again. Assert yourself, and strength will surely come. Sincere in your wish, strong in your resolve, nothing can stand in your path. Once again I say, look ever upwards and onwards. We're going to be reading chapter 5 tomorrow. I'm getting an itch in my throat, and I think it's a nice place to stop. Thank you so much for stopping by, and until we continue these teachings of the yogi written in English in 1911, we will namaste.